This is a for the public. This is a virtual meeting, and we are therefore dispensing of the prayer and pledge of allegiance. With that, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Forbes.
Present.
Councilmember Bench.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Councilmember Scherzer.
Present.
Councilmember Millen.
Present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Ostash.
Present.
Mayor Clock.
Present.
We have 7 members present and 2 absent.
Thank you. Are there announcements, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'd like to remind council and the public to inform them that the agenda has been revised, and it does now include a consent agenda item number 27, and it's regarding the Plunkett and Cooney agreement. This would be the second amendment to that agreement.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like the public to be aware that applications for election workers are now available. They're out on the city website, or you can call City Clerk's office at 759-1480. The deadline for the Election Commission to appoint the workers is July 14th. Also, a filing deadline for 5 council positions and 2 Saginaw Public School Board positions is July 21st. Call 759-1480 for additional information and to obtain the required documents. And Mayor, that takes us to public input.
Thank you. For the benefit of the public, we want to say we welcome to all those who have signed up to address council tonight. Hearing from the citizens we represent is very important to us. We ask that you speak slowly and clearly so we don't miss what you have to say. When called to the podium, let us know if you'll be speaking solely for yourself or on behalf of the group. I should say when you are called, when your mic is turned on. Please let us know if you'll be speaking solely for yourself or on behalf of a group. All speakers will have a 3-minute limit, which is timed by the clerk, so be sure to cover your main points first. We ask that your presentation be courteous and respectful to the members of the public present, to the citizens watching SGTV, and to council here tonight so we can give serious considerations to your concerns. All follow-ups will be referred to city staff. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker is Alexander Verdoni. I understand that we had some issues with communication and hookup to speak.
I am present.
Oh, Alexander. Oh, good. I'm glad you're there. Thank you. You may go ahead and speak, Alexander.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I would like to bring to the attention of the city statue, it's a monument that we have on Ojibwe Island. The monument is dedicated to Henri Nouvel, who was the first Jesuit priest to come into the Saginaw Valley. And I, as a Catholic, I appreciate Nouvel, but I do believe that the monument we have erected in public space needs to be addressed, because the way that we frame Nouvel, we frame him, if you look on the monument, which was erected in 1952, he's framed as the first white man in the Saginaw Valley. And I have spoken to many residents in the city of Saginaw who find this monument to be offensive, that there needs to be a monument constructed on an island named after an indigenous people dedicated to the first white man. And I know that Henri Nouvel, as a Catholic, would probably identify more in his Catholic faith rather than by his race. So I just wanted to bring that to the city's attention and hope that, especially during this time in which our nation is looking at racial justice and the symbolic ways in which we use public space, that we can look at these monuments and re-examine them. I hope that the city of Saginaw will take the time to remove the monument or to register accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verdoni. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Kimberly Mears.
Ms. Mears?
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me present today. I am a representative for United Healthcare. We are one of the health plans in Saginaw. My job is just to educate the Saginaw community on available resources that we have. I have enclosed our brochure and our flyer for our Dual Complete program. This is for individuals that have both Medicaid and Medicare. So basically, this is a free program. It won't cost them anything additional, no monthly or yearly premium. As long as people have Medicare and Medicaid, they get additional benefits like $2,000 in dental and all the other highlighted benefits in the brochure. So if you know someone that has both Medicare and Medicaid, please forward the materials. My contact number is on the brochure. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the extent of the public input. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it is, Mayor. Now we are at remarks of council.
Thank you. I would remind council members of the 3-minute limit, and today we begin with Councilmember Scherzer. Madam Scherzer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first want to thank our speakers for being on our call this evening. To Mr. Verdoni, the city staff and the manager will look into that, and we appreciate you bringing that information forward. And then also to my soror, glad to have you on the call, and thank you for bringing the information on United Healthcare and the additional benefits that could be available for individuals with Medicare and Medicaid. So thank you to both of our speakers. I also want to thank the city staff and our city manager for continuing to make our city thrive, and for everything that you're doing in the opening phases of getting our city hall back open. So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, and as well as the rest of the city staff and department heads for making our city safe. Yesterday marked 2 occasions, if you want to say. First and foremost, happy Father's Day to all of my council members and our residents who are fathers. So we appreciate you. Anybody can be a father, but I should say it takes a lot for someone to be a dad. So happy Father's Day. But also it marked the first day of summer. So it's hot outside. More people are going outside and enjoying the weather, as well as with it opening. But I want everyone to please understand and know that COVID-19 is still real. And our case numbers in the state of Michigan are not drastically going up, but there are still cases, and there are still people who are being affected and dying from this. So please wear your mask, please socially distance, and be smart as we move forward. I've received a lot of calls about fireworks, and a lot of them in my neighborhood. So I just want to remind our residents that if you need to file a complaint or have an issue with fireworks, you can go to the city's website and file a complaint, but you can also call 911. And I know our police have been very busy because if you have read in the news or seen on Facebook, there has been an increase in some violence in the city and some unnecessary, unwanted shootings. So please, everybody, we all need to do our part in making our city safe. So let's just keep in mind with that, because we already have a pandemic and then the injustices that are going on. So we all have to do our part. And then I also wanted to say thank you to our city and president for taking a stand and continuing to stand for what is right, and for uniting for all of us to be heard. I hear you, we hear you, and your voice does matter. So continue on the fight and continue to make sure that stand for.
Thank you, Councilmember Scherzer. Next, we have, Mayor Pro Tem is she on now? Mayor Pro Tem, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you are next.
Good afternoon, everybody. Or good evening, I should say. First of all, thank our speakers for presenting. I apologize for my tardiness. My computer is working at its own pace tonight. We are, once again, I just want to echo my fellow council person, Scherzer. this is the time of the year where everybody wants to relax. We cannot relax. The numbers in Saginaw, from what I'm following, they've been the same. Well, we're just getting, I say we're just getting the overmass from the backlash from the beginning. But we haven't had any more deaths. That's been stable, at least for the last 4 or 5 days, which is good. Our recovery rate is going up, but yet keep in mind, we still need to practice social distancing and wearing our masks. I know it's difficult. It's difficult for me, but I still put it on. The other thing is, once again, I just want to just tap on the ice cream social. We're going to work together with 60 staff if we can hurry up and get that together so that we can get ready for the census. Once again, everybody remember that the census does not end until October the 31st. But we need to play our part and move this forward. I've just been busy with a lot of stuff for the municipal league, trying to get some stuff together because my time is coming close to an end. And so with that, that's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next will be Councilmember Annie Bench.
Good evening, and thank you. First, to Mr. Verdoni, thank you for being here tonight and bringing your concerns forward. We'll have to defer to staff on what and how your issue could be addressed, but I think now is certainly the best time to be having those conversations. Ms. Mears, thank you for being here and bringing your information forward here. It was nice to meet you over the weekend at the Juneteenth celebration. And it's nice to hear from you again here tonight. I also want to commend the different citizen groups and protest groups who organized Juneteenth events over the weekend. They had nice turnouts and they were wonderful family-friendly events, and masks and hand sanitizer were available. And it was good to see that everybody was practicing safe social distancing and wearing their masks and doing what needed to be done, and still being able to enjoy the outside in the nice weather. I want to thank the city manager and the police chief for their responsiveness to the concerns being brought forward by the community. We have some changes and I think some good information being put out by the city through the press release that was sent out earlier today, and I'm encouraged that we're going to be able to make some positive changes with all the momentum and all the energy coming from our citizens and their concerns. So just thank you very much to them, and I hope everyone is well, and please stay safe. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Ford.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to our speakers tonight. We continue to be under so much stress from so many different directions, and my heart is with my neighbors. But we must push forward and not allow ourselves to drift back to business as usual. I'm so encouraged by so many people taking action on specific policies that address police brutality and equity in every aspect of our community. Your voice matters so much. I hope to be a good teammate for these worthy goals, and I hope to be a part of that conversation. Thank you to the city manager and Chief Ruth for making the changes that are reflected in the press release that was released this afternoon. I look forward to hear more about these steps and know that there will be more in the future. I agree that the wording on the Nouvelle Monument is offensive. So Alexander, I appreciate you coming forward with this. I think it's time to either investigate the options here and see what the next steps might be. I hope that, just to repeat what my fellow council members, I hope that we remember that we are not through this COVID crisis at all. Please, please keep your neighbors in mind and wear a mask and socially distance. Numbers are better right now, but if we aren't careful, they will rise again. And thank you to our city staff for holding it down during this tough time. Just a quick update about the Great Mural Project. Our artist, Mark Petrosky, begins painting on Wednesday on the east side underpass of the Court Street Bridge. I'd like to thank city staff for their work to help us get ready for this project. Folks are welcome to go down and check it out, but he'll be busy. So we are excited about this year's project and want to thank Saginaw Bay Wind for supporting our work. And we might have another project in the works later this summer, so I'll keep you all updated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Williams.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I won't be long. I just want to make sure that the community stays vigilant as far as the accountability that we're looking for in reform and throughout our system. I want to encourage people. I see that the marches have, Dwayne, we had a good march this past weekend with the beverages for bros with Chucky Lawrence and Kareem Bowen from St. Mary's to Morley. And it was a good march, a good positive march. And I'm just hoping that the energy, the passion, and the power sustains for what our community is attempting to do. And lastly, just want to remind everyone the census. Please fill out your census. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Next will be Councilmember Ashton.
Good evening, and welcome everybody who's watching and enjoying the weather. It's one of our council members has mentioned, summer is here. Just real quick, the Stewart Johnson sculptures are here, so you might have seen some information on Facebook about that. They've been kind of put throughout the city of downtown and Old Town, and so if you go to our Facebook page, there's actually a map, so you can go out and it'll show you where they are, so you can enjoy those. Just again, to reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem Brendan Moore said, the census is here, and it doesn't take long to take it. It's very important. I think our host did it within under 5 minutes. There's about 9 questions, and they're very generic. So please, everybody, take the census. You can do it by phone, you can do it online, or you can fill it out and mail it in. Also, too, I noticed, and just to let everybody know, because everybody was pretty excited when the Norman Street Bridge was getting some reconstruction, and so that project is well underway. Also, too, there's some photographs on our Facebook page if you want to see it. So I was excited to see the progress that we're making on that, because that is an important entry into our city for our residents that live over there. And also to the folks, reiterating what all the council members are saying here, I've been kind of busy with work and other things, and I've been trying to get out to some of the events. Since our last council meeting, I've spoke to some of the folks who are the momentum that they're moving forward on some of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so, and I look forward to talking to you again. I'm glad that I have your phone numbers. And so thank you for everybody just keeping your voice out there. And also thanks to the mayor, because I know that he attended an event over the weekend with the ghost of George Floyd. And so I want to thank him for coming out there and talking to the folks that were still trying to move some things forward there and looking for results. So that's all I have, Mayor, and I hope everybody has a great night.
Thank you. Next is Councilmember Balls. Michael Ball.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I don't have a lot to say this evening either, but I'll probably be saying some of the same thing everybody else said. But I have participated, I think, in 3 or 4 marches, and they all been real positive. The one we had this weekend, Beverages for Bros, was really a good one. The guys are taking beverages to people who they're friends or not friends. During the summertime, they're bringing them something to drink and a bag of chips or something like that. And they've been passing it on. I think over 300 people have been involved in this, and it's a good thing for our community. Since George Floyd was murdered, I've been having a lot of people come to me and say things like mentioning black on black crime, and I thought about it for a minute. And I said, well, you have to understand, man, that most time when any criminals do anything to anybody, they normally do something to people they hang around with. So there's white on white crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime, all types of nationalities do crime to each other. But there's one thing that I do want to mention, that we have a problem in all the major cities dealing with the drug trade, and that I don't like. So I would encourage anybody who has relatives who's involved in that to please stop, because it's really destroying our community. I think about some of the marches and the people that's been involved in the march. There's been a lot of young white people involved in the march, and I thank God for them. Because I know one thing for sure, when they come to those marches, they go back to their families and they tell their fathers and their mothers, who probably some of them CEOs of companies, or maybe they're in charge or supervisors or whatever, and they tell them about how they feel about the situation. And they telling people who can make a change, and that's a good thing. So I think that all the African Americans that's involved in the marches should go back and tell our families and people that we know that's involved in the negative activity, they need to stop too, because all of it is hurting our community. You know, so we all can do something about this situation on crime and drugs in our community. Had the opportunity this week to be involved with the with the kids with the new program that we starting with the youth bill here in Saginaw. And it's really exciting to see the people calling, wanting to come to the school and get their education and get involved in skilled trades. It's going to be a real positive thing for the city of Saginaw. If any youth are interested in going back to school, 16 to 24, or if you're a high school graduate, you can come to the program, sign up to school.
Thank you. As for me, I do want to thank all the council members for your comments. I think there's some very important points that were covered and some very timely.
Mayor Clock?
Yes.
Councilmember Millen's turn.
Oh, did I miss? I am sorry. Councilmember Milne, I apologize to you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Clock.
And thank you, Madam Clerk, as well.
I wanted to mention a couple things this evening. I was sorry to hear that the African American Cultural Festival is going to have to forego the in-person live festival. They will be doing some virtual events. I know that's been a great way of bringing together the community, and people outside of our community look forward to that every year. So it's a shame to lose that, but it seems to be that kind of year. So we look forward to that returning as a live event next year. I wanted to mention that while a lot of other things go on, Mother Nature puts her hand in once in a while. 2 Wednesdays ago, June 10th, we had quite an intense storm front pass through. And I wanted to thank all the city staff, the manager, and all the departments. It was very much an all hands on deck day involving cleanup. I want to mention 2 departments in particular, Public Safety Police and Public Safety Fire. They handled most of the 911 calls. I spoke with the fire chief. They had over 80 service calls in the queue at one point. They were handling major structure fires, downed wires, and the police department was utilizing plainclothes and detective officers to help with traffic control at some of these intersections where they had wires and trees down. So very quickly got everything cleared up that was blocking streets. And I noticed in the last week, almost all of the non-essential cleanup work has been done. So very well done to those departments. Really, that's all my comments tonight. I also wanted to thank the speakers. I'm just happy that over the last couple of meetings, we have begun to have public input come back with our virtual meetings. So I'm very encouraged by that. People are interested to see what we're doing and take part in it. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I simply want to say thanks to all the council members, and I have nothing further to add. Madam Clerk?
Your next item of business is the reports from the city manager.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a number of items that I wanted to update Council on this week, and don't like doing it when we have virtual meetings, but I think there are a lot of items that should be reported on and additional information provided. The first of which being fireworks complaints. A few council members did mention that, and we have received several complaints from residents regarding fireworks in city neighborhoods, which are not allowed at this time. As you know, there are specific times of the year of which they are allowed. So we did set up a complaint email. It is stopthenoise@saginaw-mi.com. And as Council Member Scherzer pointed out, you can also call 911. Complaints can be sent to the email at any time, and we ask, if possible, to include the specific address where the fireworks are being launched so that law enforcement, inspections, or the fire department can respond to that. We've heard all the complaints. We've monitored Facebook, and we've looked at complaints on the next door neighborhood sites, and law enforcement will be providing additional enforcement this week through the weekend. So again, please report those violations, and individuals may be issued citations if they are continuing to violate local ordinances and state laws. Also wanted to mention that it is unlawful to launch fireworks from any public property. So if individuals are using the sidewalks or the streets, they can be cited at any time for that activity, even if it's on a date where fireworks are allowed. Many council members received an email regarding noise complaints last week, which stated that the city has in excess of 70 police officers, and stated that, or asked why we aren't filling those positions. And I think there's some confusion regarding the number of employees at the Saginaw Police Department. The Saginaw Police Department has 62 sworn officer positions, including the chief of police, 2 lieutenants, 10 sergeants, and 49 police officers, 4 of which are paid for by Covenant Healthcare and 2 paid for by the TAPS grant. From my last staffing update, it appears that we need to fill 3 police positions, but as you all know, recruiting and hiring officers is a very time-intensive process, and we're continually working toward filling those positions. A few weeks ago, the city's finance department began contacting residents with high balances on their water accounts as a courtesy. We are currently not doing shutoffs due to COVID-19, but eventually the department will return to normal operations. So if customers believe that they will have trouble paying those balances, they should seek assistance and can call into 211 to see if financial assistance is available for them to help pay those bills. They could also contact customer accounting, and they could advise them on other contacts for that type of assistance. A few council members also mentioned the update for the Saginaw Police Department use of force policy, which was released to the media and the public today. And I have to thank Chief Ruth, Lieutenant Konjorski, and City Attorney Amy Lusk have been working on that for the last 2 to 3 weeks to update the policy in a manner consistent with our normal policy development for the police department. I think it's a very solid document, and we went about it the right way. The Saginaw Police Department use of force policy has always been consistent with current national and legal standards. Our focus over the review of the policy has been to include clear emphasis on when certain use of force tactics are allowed or not allowed, and adding requirements regarding de-escalation of any police-citizen encounter, and highlighting the current requirements for officers' duty to intervene and also duty to report improper conduct. So I have to thank the Chief, Lieutenant Konjorski again, and City Attorney for working diligently on those policies. And finally, the last topic, I did send council members in a memo this afternoon stating this issue, but it's my belief that local government is the most frequent, if not only, contact that many of our citizens have with government representatives, and we are the most accessible government officials available to the public. Therefore, I believe it's incumbent upon us to provide transparent, interactive representation to our residents. So it's my recommendation that City Council reestablish the Saginaw Police Department Citizens Advisory Committee, and that it be a permanent committee similar to others formed by City Council, like the Downtown Development Authority or the Riverfront Development Commission. To that end, I'm establishing an administrative committee as outlined in Section 13.808 of the City Code to study the issue and provide a formal recommendation and resolution to City Council for the establishment of a CAC. The administrative committee will consist of me, the city manager, the chief of police, the city attorney, assistant city manager, HR director, and the executive assistant to the city manager will serve as the secretary for the group to take minutes. I also intend to invite Councilmember Reggie Williams to attend the committee meetings and provide input and advice given his experience with the former Saginaw Community Advisory Committee. And we will begin meeting relatively shortly. And our first meeting, we will establish a timeline to bring that resolution back to City Council. And with that, that concludes the management update.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Are there any questions of the manager at this time?
Councilman Millen here.
Councilman Millen, proceed.
Considering the continued state of emergency in Michigan, I wondered as we approach the August primary election, do we anticipate any issues with loss of polling places that are in schools? Have we had any feedback from the schools on whether there'll be any problems in that area?
Madam Clerk, perhaps you can answer that.
I can if the manager so wishes. The notices have been sent out to all the precincts reminding them of the upcoming election, and then we are taking steps for the proper equipment and safety equipment, supplies, sanitary supplies, and everything out to the polling locations for the voters and for the workers. I have not heard any concerns back from any of the precincts. So we are planning full steam ahead.
Thank you. Are there, Councilmember Milne, anything else?
No, that's good to hear. I just know there have been other school-based meetings that have not been able to take place in buildings, so I wondered what was going on with our needs.
Are there any other questions for the manager at this time?
Mayor, just real quick from Councilman Ostash.
Yes, proceed.
Yeah, Tim, you mentioned the use of force policies, and that's going to, and you sent out, it's going to be a press release. Do you know when that's going to actually go to the media so the folks that are listening can be looking for that?
The press release was at about, I think, 3:30 or so this afternoon.
So that already went out today? Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions of the manager?
I have a comment.
Sure. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Our governor has already passed the bill, if I'm not mistaken, correct me and if I'm wrong, on the choking, nothing below, nothing above, well, nothing from the neck down, no contact. I'm not sure. I know that it was on the floor and they were trying to pass it. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't speak to that, Mayor Pro Tem. I had not heard anything as yet in that regard, so I can't confirm or deny.
Okay. I wanted to ask the question. So thank you.
Are there any other questions for the manager? Anybody? Well, if not, I think, Madam Clerk, we can move on.
Yes, Mayor. Our next order of business is the consent agenda.
The consent agenda has been available at City Hall, the city website, and on SVTV channel 191. Are there any exceptions to be noted by the clerk? Any exceptions? Remember, there's the item number 27 has been added as well. So any exceptions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve all 27 consent items.
Take a motion. Well, then we approve the consent agenda.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember or by Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Is there a second?
Councilman Millen will second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussion to be had on any of the items? Hearing none, all in favor of the entire consent agenda as provided?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, it is carried. Madam Clerk?
Mayor, our next order of business is boards, commissions, and committee reports.
Are there any reports then from council members for any boards or commissions upon which you are a member?
This is Councilwoman Autumn.
Yes, Councilmember
I just
Scherzer.
want to recognize the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation has put out a grant packet for city businesses. This is a forgivable grant. I believe the applications were due today, but it's up to $5,000 for city businesses who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it can be used towards anything regarding the business, working capital, payroll, PPE, all of that stuff, and it's to prevent respond. So I just wanted to give that information. I know at the last council meeting I shared it was a packet, but it's officially out. And I look forward being on the board, but to see this come to fruition, but also, so shout out and thank you to Yolanda Jones and Connor Franklin, and as well as Keisha from the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation for getting this out to our city businesses. So I just wanted to report that to you.
Thank you. Any other reports? Any other reports? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, we can move on.
Thank you, Mayor. We are at appointment of board and commission members.
And today we have 10 different appointments. Some are mayoral and 2, I believe, are council. And we can try and do them as a consent. Is there a motion, or excuse me, are there any exceptions on those 10 appointments to be noted by the clerk? Any exceptions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve all 10 appointments?
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. I believe it was with Scherzer and Mayor Pro Tem. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, it is carried. Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we are now at ordinance introduction. Our first one is to repeal ordinance 0142 of Table 2 street vacations of Table of Special Ordinances.
Is there a motion to introduce?
I will move to introduce that ordinance change.
And is there a second?
Support.
It has been moved and supported by Councilmember Mill and Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'm sorry, yes.
I have a brief comment.
All right.
Mr. Manager or the city clerk, if you would just refresh my memory. These are 2 older vacations we're looking at. Somewhere in the past year, we changed our vacation ordinance. Generally, you now have to submit your development plan, and if it is not done within 6 months, it automatically reverts. Currently, correct?
I do believe that is correct at our process at this time, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, it is carried. Madam Clerk?
Our second ordinance is to repeal
I
ordinance.
should say, this will be laid over under the charter provision. The first.
Yes, thank you. Our second one is to repeal ordinance 0143 of Table 2 street vacations of Table of Special Ordinances.
Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Councilmember Scherzer and Councilmember Mills. Is there any discussion?
Right.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is carried and the ordinance is laid over under the charter provision. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, we are at ordinance consideration and adoption. Our first one is to amend the official city map to rezone block 77 of Poignard Farms, City of Saginaw, from single-family residential to the riverfront mixed-use institutional.
Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Ostash support.
Been moved and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Ostash. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
And, yeah, Mayor, we have a second ordinance for adoption. It's to amend section 118.04, sunset of chapter 118, prohibition of marijuana establishments and facilities. And this is of Title 11 of Business Regulations.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved and supported by Mayor Pro Tem, and I believe it was Councilmember Milne. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, this is Jamie Forbes. I just have a quick comment. I just want to remind folks that the reason that we are doing this is to make sure that we can have the necessary conversations to do this in the right way in person as much as possible, and to not have all of these meetings digitally. So I just wanted to remind the folks watching that's playing a heavy part in why we're doing this extension.
Thank you. Certainly, we do hope to be meeting soon in person, but we'll see how that goes. All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is to adopt is carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We are now at resolutions. We do have one this evening. And it's to establish an intermunicipality committee for the purpose of transportation planning in the Saginaw area and governance of the Saginaw Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support. More.
Councilmember Milne and Mayor Pro Tem have moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Madam Clerk,
Mayor, we are now at miscellaneous business.
does anyone have any other business to bring before council at this time? Anyone?
Yep.
Yep, Councilmember Scherzer.
So, I forgot to mention in my, well, I didn't have time, but I want to say congratulations and welcome to the police department, our 3 new probationary police officers. And with that being said, I do believe we need to discussion about our Human Rights Commission that was or is being developed, and the discussion of 3 council members joining that commission.
Okay, Mr. Manager, or the mover of the original motion, I believe it was Councilmember Forbes. Either one of you have any input? Councilmember Forbes?
So when I made the motion, I intended for the city manager to choose those 3 individuals. And so after the meeting, I cleared that up, and I think that we're all set. Manager, have you made a selection yet?
I have 2 members, and one is Councilman Ostash, and the second one is Mayor Pro Tem Moore. And I haven't had an opportunity to touch base with a third one at this time, but I guess since we're meeting, my initial thought was to first ask Council Member Michael Balls if he is interested in participating, because he's often expressed interest in committees, but hasn't had a chance to be a member of as many as he wanted to.
Yes, sir. I'd be more than happy to.
Good. So we have our 3. Is that correct, Mr. Manager?
Yep, that makes 3 members, and I will be a part of the committee, and I believe Councilmember Forbes said any staff that's necessary. I'm going to, again, as I mentioned, with our administrative committee that's going to recommend a resolution for the establishment of a CAC. I'm going to ask Vicki Davis again to be the secretary for this committee to assist with scheduling and notes and minutes. And I'm going to ask the city attorney to participate as well, because I believe in the past she's done quite a bit of work in this area when previously working with Councilmember Bench on some ordinances several years ago. So I know that the city attorney has information available that will assist the committee as well.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions of the manager regarding either of the topics brought up by Councilman Scherzer? Anyone? All right. Any other unfinished business that someone would like to bring up? Anybody?
We still under miscellaneous business?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Yeah, I just got a real quick question for the city manager, Tim. I know it's been announced that City Hall will be reopening its doors on July 1st. Are we still on target for that?
I haven't been advised of any delays regarding our opening.
Okay, yeah, some folks have been asking. That's what I've been telling them. The other thing too, do you know when with City Hall reopening, people have also been asking about our parks, and others have mentioned that even the exercise facility that we put down at the Splash Park?
The parks are all open to foot traffic, and I believe that the exercise facility, I believe it's completed and can be used at this time as well. So all of that is open to foot traffic. The only thing will be the vehicle access for parks is currently closed. I expect sometime in June that to be reopened. And
in June or July, Mr.
I'm sorry, July. Yeah, July.
July. Okay.
And the splash pad, at this time, that's still closed indefinitely. I don't know that we will be able to open the splash pad this year for a few reasons. One being COVID-19, and two being we do not have our normal seasonal staff that maintains the splash pad and monitors it at this time.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And that's good for folks to know too who are listening, and that they can tell other people too. And other thing to mention, I just want to mention, is that the outdoor exercise facility, take your own Clorox wipes, because there could be other people that are there, and you'll be, disinfect the handles and stuff yourself. So, okay, thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Are there any other items of unfinished business that someone would like to bring up?
I'd just like to wish everybody happy 4th of July. Be safe. And hope to see all of you real soon, not on TV, but in person.
Thank you. That does bring up something I would like to ask Mr. Manager. Are there being plans made for appropriate social distancing for council in the event we're able to try and meet in person, whether at City Hall or in an alternative location?
So for city council, I don't believe that meeting at an alternative location is a good solution, because we're so dependent upon our technology that we have at council chambers to be able to put the council meetings on SGTV and record them for YouTube. I don't think that would be possible to do at an alternative location, at least effectively and efficiently. So if we are to return to live meetings, I think the best option would be to utilize council chambers. The only way to do that and maintain social distancing would be to separate council with probably multiple tables in the room, so that you all would be 6 feet apart. We'd have to look at microphones for that, and also we would probably only be able to have the city attorney, clerk, and I in the room. We would have to have viewing in the halls with social distancing for the public, and we'd probably have to have any personal appearances wait in the hall at social distancing and bring them in one at a time. So that's where we are with having the meetings. The governor, I believe, has extended the ability to have virtual meetings through sometime in July. I think it's the end of July. So it would really be up to council how you'd want to direct me, either to attempt to have in-person meetings at City Hall after July 1st with social distancing, or if you would like to continue to have virtual city council meetings for the next few meetings.
All right, thank you. I can sort of say for myself, I am concerned about COVID-19, and I'm sure all council members are. So, but I do want to ask council for your comments or thoughts on the manager's response.
This is Councilwoman Scherzer. It sounds like a lot of work. And I'm not trying to discredit meeting in person, but if the consensus of among council is to meet in person, I would hope for some of us who may be taking care of their older parents or older family members that an option to stay virtual would be in the make a possibility. And even if someone isn't in that situation, even just the comfortability of coming back and around people, hopefully if there is in-person meeting, it may be an option for some council members who can't come and meet in person due to the pandemic or extenuating circumstances beyond it. But it sounds like a lot of work.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would just mention
Councilmember Milne first, then
the MBS International Airport Commission. We do use a hybrid model. You can be in attendance in person or attend by phone in, and it does seem to work for us. We don't tend to get as much citizen input at that particular body, but we are able to accommodate it. So I would agree with Councilwoman Scherzer that an option for still meeting remotely for those who would wish it could work.
And someone else interjected.
Yes, Bench here.
All right. Yes, Councilmember Bench.
I think that it is imperative that council continue to meet remotely for as long as possible. The virus is still happening, and we're not seeing the uptick in numbers so far. But if you listen to the medical experts and not politicians who have an agenda, we're not in the clear. We are seeing more and more people my age come down with this, and we do have a younger council now. I don't think it's wise. If it's not safe for some of us, it's not safe for all of us. We are supposed to be leading by example. And if we see our numbers go up, and people in leadership positions are being casual or reckless or cavalier about these things, I mean, we have a responsibility to overreact in this set of circumstances, because the cost of not overreacting is too high. So personally, I don't think we should meet again. If we have to go that much work and we don't feel it's safe to have any more, or we don't have the ability to have any more department heads present, then it's in my opinion not worth it. I certainly would support a hybrid if that's even possible, but it's my understanding from prior that if we were meeting in person, people could not call in. That may have changed under the current order with the governor's new rules, but if it's not safe for one of us or some of us, it's not safe for any of us. And I think we really need to lead by example, because we've got a lot of people who are acting like everything's back to normal, and I understand the need to get back to some normalcy, but it's not worth your health and it's not worth your life, because what the hell good is normalcy if you're dead or sick? So that's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Bench. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. I think I heard Mayor Pro Tem Moore first.
I just wanted to add to that. I mean, I have a retreat that I've canceled, and I've also canceled the conference to Mackinac already because of individuals. The governor stated 100 outside. Now, we were going to Mackinac, but also we've been laying off. The city's been laying off people, and I didn't think it was fair for us to go on a glamour trip and you're laying off. And I have to look at the whole picture, and I agree with you, Councilwoman Bench and Scherzer and Councilman Ostache. It's got to be safe. It's just got to be safe. Annie, thank you so much for talking about the young folks, because us elderly ones, it's always us. But you're right, the numbers are going up with the younger people now. And that's because a lot of them are reckless. I said, let's keep it like it is. I appreciate city staff for wanting to do it, but I like it when I can have everybody in the room and we all talking and we have spectators, because now then you got a police, or you have to be watching the social distancing in the hallway. And how many people can we put in the hallway? So if we want to get back to a regular meeting for me is when I can walk in chambers, see everybody in the same room, even our citizens who have a lot of questions. So I say, this is me, I would love to see it continue until it is lifted, or think about August. Let's prepare for something in August, but leave it like it is for now. It's okay. If we don't get on time, we all pop in when we can pop it in. You know, so I just say, let's keep it like it is. If it's not broke, let's don't try to fix it if it's not broke.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I heard someone else, was that Councilmember Balls that?
No, it was Bill.
Oh, all right, Councilmember Oster.
Right. So just tagging on to what everybody's saying here, my biggest concern was also to like our public that comes and usually likes to sit in the meeting. And if you think about the council chambers, it's not that big. You know, you got over here, we've got the clerk and normally Yolanda's sitting there, and like you've got Tim and Amy next to each other. And then you have the news media that are normally sitting 2 feet apart. So it's how would we put all those people in that room? And then my other concern about the room itself, some of the epidemiologists have been talking about, number one, it's amount of exposure and time of exposure. And so particles in the air. So a lot of the businesses are increasing their HVAC systems, air filtration. They're actually recirculating the air. We don't have that opportunity in council chamber. And then we close the room for an hour, half hour, hour and a half. I think even if we went to some sort of a hybrid model, you're still looking at that time and then overtime exposure. So that it could be in the room.
So far, the consensus I'm hearing is to keep the virtual meetings as is. As anyone, I know Councilmember Milne, I know that you would like to get to at least some in person. Right. Is there anyone else who we need to hear from at this time?
This is City Manager again.
Yes.
I think for our tech services, for Jeff Klopsick and Matt for SGTV, a hybrid model would be more difficult to host and broadcast than completely virtual. I understand that a lot of people do want to have the in-person meetings again, but I think doing some kind of a combination of a partial virtual and partial in-person meeting would be much more work for the tech services staff. And we do utilize that at the Airport Commission. However, those are strictly call-in. We don't do a video meeting. And it does, and I think Councilman Milne would also agree that, in my view, sometimes it's difficult to have the individual on the phone to be recognized when speaking.
That is correct. There is a lag that builds into that. So,
all right. Again, does anyone else wish to speak on the topic? Otherwise, I think I will simply ask the manager to keep it virtual for the time being. Anyone else on the topic? All right, then, Mr. Manager, I think that's the consensus as we continue the virtual, certainly for the next meeting, maybe the next two ones at the very minimum. And as Mayor Pro Tem Moore said, maybe look at it in August and see where we are then. We can always choose to change or keep virtual at that point if allowed by the governor. All right. Anything else before we close business for the day? Any other miscellaneous items? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Bench move.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by multiple people, but I did hear Councilmember Scherzer. Is there a second?
Support more.
support by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good